Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ximena. If you are new, today I am going to be sharing with you guys my green card timeline. If you missed my last video, you probably don't know that my husband and I actually did our civil wedding and we were able to apply for a green card. We are currently still planning our big wedding. It's something that is still in the books, so we're so excited for that and just to plan a whole celebration to celebrate with our families. Our civil wedding was super small and very intimate, which I really loved, but we really want a big celebration with our family. With that being said, we were able to apply for our green card, and so in today's video I'm going to share with you guys a little bit more about my timeline and just some things I did to prepare. We already got approved. We also did it on our own with the help of a nonprofit, but we filled everything out on our own. We saved ourselves thousands of dollars by doing it on our own, so I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about that today. But before that, I need to go to Starbucks and get myself a drink and also get myself out of this parking lot, because I am currently in a parking lot and there are so many people parking right next to me just looking at me. So funny. But let's go to Starbucks first because I need to get myself a drink. Also, I did get a new car and this one does not have a sunroof, and I really miss my old sunroof a lot. I feel like it definitely added a lot more light in my car vlogs and videos, but it will have to do. I still love my car, my new car anyways. Such a blessing, but no sunroof. Can I get a grande ice brown sugar shaken espresso? I'll add vanilla sweet cream cold foam on top. You guys have the Dolce sprinkles right now? I'll add those on top as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. That first sip feeling, just like the cup said, so good. Guys, pause this video and go get yourself a drink or some chips, because we're gonna be here for a while, and you know, I want you to have a little something, a little snack while you guys hear me talk about this timeline. Now, a couple of disclaimers. Well, just one disclaimer. I am not a lawyer or a paralegal. This is not legal advice. Please consult with a lawyer if you're thinking about doing this process on your own. So here are a couple of things to know before we get started. So first, this is a marriage green card process. This isn't based on like work or like an employment based green card. Those have a little different processes. I would definitely suggest you to consult with a lawyer. Second, I did have a visa when I entered into the US. I did have DACA before having my green card. If you don't know what DACA is, it is a deferred action for childhood arrivals. It was a program started when Obama was president, which gave a lot of young people that came to the US, like myself, were brought here by their parents, the right to work and have a social security, and in some states you can have a driver's license and you can have financial aid, and also you can have healthcare in some states. And then the last thing to note is that I am from Mexico. I know a lot of people on TikTok, I don't know why they were asking me like what country I was from, because apparently that is also like important when it comes to like your timeline, which I don't think so. I think that only applies when it's like a sibling or like parent to child green card process. In my case, I don't think it affected anything. We did a couple of things before we got married, which I think are important in our case. First thing is we spoke to actually 3 different lawyers because we wanted to rule out any red flags in our process. And we did this before we got married because Chris and I already knew that once we did get married, he was going to petition for me. He was willing to do that. I know some couples are not, and that's totally fine. It's up to them, but we already knew. And we were also kind of like shopping around. We wanted to know how much we were going to spend. And all of these lawyers quoted us around $6,000 just for their lawyer fees.
Hold up, wait a minute.
It didn't include the USCIS fees, which were like an extra almost $2,000, plus a couple of other like little things we had to buy in those like $2,000. So yeah, you do need a good amount of money when doing this with a lawyer. Now, I'm not saying just because we did this process without a lawyer that you should do that as well. I am not saying that. Please consult actually with a lawyer. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. We just got told by all of them that our case was pretty straightforward. I didn't need any perdon or any waiver for my case because I didn't have more than 180 days of illegal presence. I didn't have any criminal background. I came with a visa, so everything was going to be smooth. Unfortunately, that's not the case for many people, but if it is your case, I think it's definitely a more straightforward case than most other cases. Another thing is, I am in the US. I've been living here since I was young. I know some people try to do this like on a K1 visa, like fiance visa, and that wasn't our case. Our case was completely different. We have been together since high school.
It's been 84 years.
We also began gathering our documents before we got married because we didn't know that we could, like, the lawyers told us things we could gather, and we had also watched YouTube videos, so we tried getting as many things as we could ready for when we were going to file. And another thing is, we found an amazing nonprofit called Dreamers Together. I found them on TikTok. I think Liz was doing a live and she was talking about advanced parole for like DACA individuals, and I was interested in that, and I never did it, but I ended up joining their advanced parole group, and then I found out they had an adjustment of status group, and I found out of so many people who did their process all on their own. Their CEO, Vanessa, she is amazing. She did the process on her own too, and you know, they have a lot of free guides on how to fill out the forms. You can ask questions in the group. I believe now you can also book consultations. Everything is completely free. The consultations, I am not sure if they are free now, or I don't remember if they were free before, but they do have some free services, and then they also have paid services. They are accredited by USCIS, so you can be confident that these people know what, you know, they're doing, and they're also backed by amazing lawyers. So check them out. If you guys do join their group, tell them I sent you, because I've got nothing but love for that group and just so much gratefulness that I found them. Another thing is, we didn't have an interview. It was waived. That was amazing. Right now USCIS is trying to waive as many interviews as possible because of the backlog that they had because of the pandemic. Let's get into the timeline, which I know is what you guys are all here for. I think after the timeline, I'll go over the evidence. It might be a lengthy video, so like I said, get yourself something to eat, a snack, and something to drink, because we're here for the long run. Chris and I got married in late August, and this was after we decided that we wanted to do this on our own, thanks to Dreamers Together. And literally a month after, on September 26th, I sent in all of my documents concurrently, which means all of the documents together. So I sent the I-130, I-130A, I-485, I-131, I-765, I believe it's I-698. I might be incorrect, but it's the medical form which you basically are saying that you can financially sponsor your spouse or whoever you're sponsoring. Submitted 2 of those, one for Chris and one for our co-sponsor, because we did need to use a co-sponsor. Another thing we did before we sent the forms is we did do a medical exam. You have to do that in order to get your green card approved. A lot of lawyers don't recommend you to do it until after you send the paperwork and USCIS asks for it. But as far as I know, I learned through Dreamers Together that this medical exam is good for 2 years, I believe. So we didn't mind sending it at the same time as our application. I was thinking that we were gonna get approved in 6 to 8 months probably, but we got approved in 2.5. And so I tried sending as much evidence as possible all together, because I didn't want to get an RFE later, like a request for additional evidence. And that medical exam, I believe it was $350. You do have to get that vaccine that a lot of people, you know, don't want to get unless you are like allergic to that or have some sort of exemption. I don't think there's a way around it unless you can prove that you can't actually take it. You also need to have, I think, the MMR, the varicella, and another vaccine, which I am forgetting about right now. But I actually got those before my appointment. I went to my regular doctor and I was like, hey, can you put these on me? And they were like, why do you need them? And I was like, because I need to do an immigration process. So they put them on. It was covered by my insurance, but the actual medical exam where you get seen by the doctor that's approved by USCIS, that is not covered by any insurance apparently. So start saving up and shop around for that too. So we sent all of that info with our packet. I did send it on an express, like next day shipping, and I did want them to sign. I did pay like $70 for it, and it's all based on like weight because it was like a package this thick. I'll insert a photo here if I have one. And USCIS received it the next day. So on September 27th they received everything. On September 29th, I believe, I got all of my receipts for all the applications that I sent. After that, it was just a waiting game after we sent it. But something happened. My timeline gets a little bit like, not funky, but so many like things happened around my timeline, which I will try to explain the best I can without confusing you guys. But on September 30th, unfortunately, my grandma had a medical emergency, and my grandma's in Mexico. So I asked USCIS to expedite something called a combo card, which you can get. It's not saying that you will get it, but you can get it when you submit an I-765, a work authorization, and a I-131 advanced parole. I asked them to expedite that because of this reason. I needed to travel for emergency purposes. It got to the point where it was like a life or death situation with my grandma. I was able to submit it online through their USCIS website. I spoke to Emma and I was like, hey, I need to put an expedite request. I got transferred to an agent. They asked me for like the reason, and I gave it to them, and they said, okay, someone will be in touch with you in like 7 to 10 business days. And I had heard some people that got back like the next day. Like the next day they would hear back from this agent asking them for more evidence to prove that this was actually going on, you know. And I didn't get anything. And so September 30th, when I put in the request for my expedite, I got a notification that my biometrics had been scheduled. That's when I knew that they weren't going to reuse my DACA biometrics, which I know happens to a lot of people too. The appointment was set for like a month after I got that notice, and so I knew that if I asked for this expedite request, it would most likely not get approved without my biometrics. On October 7th, I ended up going into a USCIS application center where they do your biometrics. I printed out the form from my USCIS portal, and I was like, hey, I have an emergency. I need to expedite this case, but I don't think it's going to get approved unless I do my biometrics. Is there any way you could let me take these biometrics? And so they were like, you know what, I don't think we can do that. Like, what's going on? You can't show up to your original appointment. I was like, I can, but this is an emergency. Like, I need to be with my grandma. And so they were able to talk to a manager, and the guy came back. I remember sitting in the office with my mom, and I was like, it's not gonna get approved. Like, this guy, he's coming back to us, like, he has like a sad face, like a serious sad face, and I was like, oh, he's gonna be like, no, or something like that. But he's like, yeah, my manager said you can do it. So I was so happy. I ended up getting in the queue for that, filling out some paperwork, and I had to prove that I was married. Like, I took a lot of things, but I took also my copy of my marriage certificate. They let me in, and I got my biometric. Same day, like an hour after, my I-485 and my I-765 were actively being reviewed. Now, a couple of days passed and I had not heard back from expedite requests. So I was getting a little anxious because my grandma, things were getting like escalating a little bit. And so I reached out to my congressman. I didn't know you could do that, but I ended up Googling who is my congressman, and depending on the city where you live, it will depend what congressman you get. And so I reached out to them, and I literally thought I was gonna get like a voicemail or something, and they did answer, and they were like, I explained to them my case, and they were like, yeah, we can help you out, fill out these forms, blah blah blah. So I filled them out, and then someone called me back and they were like, hey, we got this. It was like the secretary for the congressman, and she's like, can you fill out these other forms because you filled them out incorrectly? And I was like, okay. So I did it, they submitted it, and then she's like, it's gonna take about 30 business days for USCIS to get back, so you have to sign like paperwork for your congressman to like act on your behalf. Did it, gave them permission to contact USCIS on my behalf, and I was kind of bummed when they told me like it's gonna take 30 days. She was like, you know, try doing info pass, which is when you go in person for an in-person appointment. And I had heard of people going into this appointment for advanced parole, and there was even this girl in the group that got her green card approved like on the spot. And I was like, what? I was like, maybe my green card could possibly be approved and then I can go and see my grandma. And then I ended up going. I showed my evidence. I had letters from the doctors translated. I had to take my birth certificate, my mom's birth certificate, my grandma's, all translated, showing my like relationship to my grandma. And I got approved. In my paper, it mentioned DACA on it, and I was like, wait a second. I had bought my ticket, I was gonna go, and I was like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't go because it says DACA. It doesn't say this was because of my green card process on the form. And so I was really scared that I wouldn't be let back in because it wasn't through my green card, and I didn't want to like affect the green card process. So I ended up just waiting, and my congressman, a couple of days went by, and she was like, hey, we heard back and they said they can't approve it because you already have an info pass I-131 approved. And I was like, yeah, but it wasn't through my DACA process. And they're like, yeah, they said it doesn't matter, like you already got one approved, they can't approve one until that one's expired. And I was like, okay. So I was like, thank you so much for helping me, but I'm gonna wait. Like, I don't want to use that because I don't want to like affect my green card application. And so literally the day after she called me, I received an email. At this time, it was already November 18th when I received this email, and it said, hey, someone contacted us, you or someone else contacted USCIS on your behalf because you have an expedite request. They're like, please send us more evidence. And I was like, wait, didn't they say they couldn't approve it? And so I'm guessing that the agent my congressman was talking to wasn't well informed, because clearly they were willing to take my evidence in. And so the same day, I faxed them over all of the evidence, the same evidence I showed to the officer over at my InfoPass appointment. I sent that over via fax. I spent like $70 something. It was expensive, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it because I really want to see my grandma. And so literally the next Monday after I sent it on Friday, it happened Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning, I remember it was like still like 10 a.m. I got an email and I was like, oh, it's a USCIS email. And then I started reading it and I was like, oh, please don't like ask for more info, or like please like accept my expedite request. And then I read it all the way at the bottom, and it said, your form I-765, application for employment, and I-131, application for travel, were approved on November 21st, 2022. You will receive a combination card which will have employment authorization and advanced parole. And if you don't receive the card in like the next 30 days, contact us. And so literally like a week after I received my card in the mail, I was so excited. I got it in the mail and I was ready to book a flight. At that time, it was just a matter of like making sure I was able to get my work days off and stuff like that to go and see my grandma. Then there was this one day, I think it was like December 11th, I got a notification through my USCIS like portal that said there was something actively being reviewed. And I logged in and I didn't see anything. So I went onto the Facebook group, Dreamers Together, and I asked like, hey, what do you guys think this could be? Like, I already got my combo card approved, but I don't see any changes on my page. And so they were like, you know, maybe just wait it out. It could be like a delayed response or something through the combo card. And so I waited, and then literally the next day I was getting out of work and I was about to drive back home when I opened my case tracking app, and it said that my I-130 was actively being reviewed. And the I-130 is what you need to get approved for you to even like get the green card approved, because that just proves that your marriage is bona fide. And so I was so in shock. I was like, yes, like, you know, now, you know, we're probably gonna wait a couple more, like 4 months, you know, could be another 6 months for it. And then I drove home. I was really excited. I prayed about it. My dad called me. I was like, hey, I'm on my way home. You know, I want to let you know that I got this email. And so we prayed about it. And then I got to my parents' house, and you know, I was just chilling, and this was an hour later. I opened my app because I wanted to refresh it. I was like, I don't know, like I really want to refresh it. I just had that little, like, you know, like bug that was like, come on, check. And I refreshed my app, and then it said my I-130 was approved. And then literally like after that, the other one like turned green, and it said my I-485 was approved. So they got approved, I want to say like right after the other, or I want to say at the same time. And that was on December 13th. And I was just jumping around. I remember my parents were, thankfully I was with my parents that day, and Chris was working graveyard, so I wasn't with him when this whole thing went down. But I told my parents, I told my aunt and my uncle, they were there, and we were just so happy. I couldn't believe it. And I am just so thankful to God that he, like, all of the things that had to happen, all the people he put in my way, my congressman. I really think my congressman was like the key thing, because I literally kept calling her like, hey, is there anything you can do? Like, and she was like, no, but let me try again. Like, they really wanted to like vouch for me, and I had never met these people ever in my life, and they were willing to help me out. Also the team at Dreamers Together. And so I remember I received, it took about 5 days for them to produce my green card, and then another like 5 days for them to mail it. So I received my green card in the mail on Christmas Eve, which was December 24th, and it was just like the best Christmas present. It just made my 2022 like year. That was like the grand finale to close the year. Unfortunately, I wasn't home. I was in a trip with my husband and my family over in Lake Tahoe over in Nevada, and we were just having the best time. I remember my mother-in-law got the letter in the mail, and she's like, hey, I think it's here. And she's like, is this what you're looking for? And I was like, yeah, like that's my green card, like please keep it in a safe place until I get home. And so she's like, are you sure it's the green card? Like maybe it's an appointment for the green card. And I was like, no, I don't think it is. And I got home, I opened it, and I was just like crying because I couldn't believe my eyes. But I have a good God that works in my favor, and I love him so much, and I'm so thankful to him. And I want to show you guys my green card. I'm not gonna like expose it out here, but I do want to share it because it's such a dream come true. I am officially a permanent resident as of December. This is my card. It is so pretty. I love it so much. This 4th of July just passed, and I celebrated even bigger because now I celebrated 4th of July as a permanent resident, and I can't wait until I can do that as a US citizen. And I'm so thankful to my husband, to God first of all, to my parents, and to all the team of Dreamers Together that helped us out, and all my family who also helped us out. We had that helped us be a co-sponsor, which basically said that if Chris does, because Chris didn't meet the required income, we had to get someone else to co-sponsor us. And I'm so grateful to them who helped me out, and I'm so happy. I hope this timeline was fun for you guys to watch. If you're still waiting for your green card, keep praying about it. I recommend you to pray to God about it, and I know he will work amazing things in your life, and all in God's time, because his times are always perfect. So that's a little bit of my timeline. Now I am gonna get into the evidence that I submitted. I gotta get a little drink because I have just been talking and talking for what seems like almost an hour now, but it's only been like 30 minutes. For the I-130, you have to submit an I-130A. The I-130 is more like for you and your partner, but the I-130A has information about the beneficiary, which is whoever is applying to become a permanent resident. So that would be me. And so in that one, you kind of have to prove, well, you don't kind of have to prove, you have to prove your marriage is real. It's bona fide, it's in good faith. And so I felt like for this, Chris and I weren't really gonna have that much of a problem because we had been together for so long. We had been together since I was like 15. I believe Chris was 18 at the time, and we met in high school. So we sent so many things. We sent bank statements. When Chris and I got engaged, we knew we obviously were gonna have our big wedding, so we opened a bank account together. This was still in 2021, like when we actually got like engaged. We started like trying to track all of our spending for the wedding there, and just like things we spent like together. And so we did have that, and that we created like a year and a half before we even got married. So we had that. Did have a lot of photos. Try to submit more like photos of you and your partner with other people, with family members, with friends, or if you're like at a location like Las Vegas, if you've traveled together, or like the Grand Canyon and you take a photo there. Those are great photo evidences. They don't really want selfies, they want more of like those types of photos where they can believe they're not like staged or anything. We also sent in our high school transcripts because that's where we met, in high school. We had our youth pastor write us a letter. We also had some family members write us letters. All the people that write you a letter, please make sure they're US citizens. I don't know if a non-US citizen can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Write us these letters basically vouching for our marriage, like saying that it's legit. We had them send over their ID cards, and we had them wet sign it, you know, attest under penalty of perjury, I think that's what it is, that everything is legit and that they're not like lying or anything. And they even put their phone number so that the officers could call in case they had questions. Also included wedding invitation for our civil wedding. We include engagement photos, wedding receipts, wedding dress, engagement rings, what's it called? We submitted all of those receipts. Wedding cake, I think we even submitted the officiant fees, officiant contract, photography contract, engagement spending, like so many things that we spent for our wedding and our engagement, engagement party photos. We also submitted proof of residence. So together, Chris in college, he had an apartment and he put me under like a tenant, so I was able to show that we were under a contract, you know, stuff like that. We sent for our bona fide marriage info. We also sent plane tickets. We have traveled together, so we sent those, like flight itineraries. We sent our my passport copy, birth certificates of both of us, proving Christian citizenship, proving my Mexican citizenship. We also sent in our bank statement for our joint account, for our individual accounts, for our income, and then for our co-sponsor, we also sent their USCIS, their US citizenship proof. We sent a copy of their taxes, all the stuff USCIS needed. Also sent our medical exam. We also kept a copy for ourselves and then one sealed for USCIS. We also sent, I think, a total of 10 passport photos. And you will see like all the applications that need like passport photos. We also spent so much money on printing and faxing, so that was like a whole other ordeal. I want to say we spent around $1,900, $1,800 with everything all together, and with like shipping and stuff like that. I want to say it was that, and that's basically all that we sent. You know, the photos, we put them all in like a collage, and I'll try to insert a photo here. And we put the photo and then like the little date, and then a photo and a little date. Did end up changing my last name. I did receive my social security with my new name, and you can opt to not get that card, but I asked to get it. My old social security card I got from DACA, it's still the same number, like you don't get a different social security, but it does have like for work purposes only under USCIS or Department of Homeland Security, like allowance or something like that. So that usually when you apply for jobs and for like to buy stuff, like a lot of the times you run into problems. So I just decided to just get a whole like new social security card with my name. I then went to the DMV after I got my actual marriage certificate. We changed all of that, so now my driver's license says that, all of that stuff. I hope this video helped you guys out. If it did, please give it a big thumbs up. I know it was pretty long. I feel like it's about to go for like 30 minutes, but I hope this helped you guys out. And if it did, consider subscribing. I do a lot of videos with lifestyle and stuff like that. Right now, like I said, we're planning our big wedding, so you guys are gonna see a lot of wedding planning stuff. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.